then I think the next thing was Tough to Be a Bug, right? Yeah, and so you could do this trivia question. You know, which Pixar attraction actually came out in a park before the movie was released? It was a Tough to Be a Bug for Animal Kingdom, because it started with they were talking about what to do with the space inside the Tree of Life. And they was contemplating doing a Lion King show or something like that, and then they started seeing our second movie, A Bug's Life, being developed, and they thought this would be great because it's insects, it's perfect for Animal Kingdom, and so on. And so as you know, we basically had the space that was already designed inside, and we had to kind of work within that.
You know, when we started on that, we weren't sure about the idea because we thought, at first, what do bugs have to do with the animal kingdom? And then, like everything else, we did a lot of research, and the first page of insect research said the 10 quintillion bugs in the world make up 96% of the animal kingdom. So
and we started working with Kevin and developing it, and it's still, you know, and then when California Adventure was being developed, this was such a huge success when Animal Kingdom opened that they decided to bring it to California. You know, and then to extend it, I think we were looking at where it was going to go in California Adventure, and of course me, you know, thinking ahead to like how we could take over the world is to I kept asking, what's this area back here? Oh, that's for future expansion, and I kept going, oh, that's where we could put the sort of the Bugs Land in, like there again.
Yeah, I remember we were standing. Disney's California Adventure wasn't even open yet, and we were standing in the queue. It's Tough to Be a Bug, and you started describing this world. That one thing about A Bug's Life that you love so much was the environment and the giant clovers and just the colors are just beautiful. And wouldn't it be nice to do a land like that? Well, DCA opens and we immediately get feedback that there's not enough for kids to do. So we flash back to this conversation, and immediately we started developing Flicks Fun Fair, which we got in about 18 months later. And that was the first time we worked together. We just had a ball on that.
Yeah, it was really fun, and it's really great. And there is one four-leaf clover.
There is one.
So the giant clovers that you walk around, there's one four-leaf one there that's hidden in amongst it. So.
And it's interesting because it seemed to start with, I guess, a tradition of Pixar-inspired attractions are largely not retellings of the story. Most of the classic Fantasyland attractions are retellings of stories, but most of the Pixar ones seem to be somehow extensions. How did that start?
Part of it is in our films. You know, we try to develop the worlds to be the places you kind of want to go and be a part of and live in. And I think that's been, and the sets of characters that are really entertaining. And I think then it sort of lends itself to like different things you can do, whether it's, and also it kind of opens up for the Imagineers. It opens them up to where, you know, you could do like kiddie rides, or it could be a dark ride, or it could be an interactive ride, and it kind of opens up to give them lots of range to come up with different ideas.
Well, and the characters are so great. Looking at this picture of Heimlich, and you know, he just loves food, and he's such a wonderful little character. And we got to take him to Candy Valley. He was so excited about going to Candy Valley.
So and then I think, you know, as it goes forward into thinking about, you know, with the Bugs Land, it was really fun we started taking a look at the types of attractions that could be used. This was, we were very inspired by, over in Tokyo Disney Seas, the Little Mermaid area, you know, that has this wonderful kind of immersive feeling. It's an indoor land. And we thought it would be fun to take different kind of rides of those. And so we started looking around the world at the different kind of rides that we could take and which ones would best kind of fit into this insect world. And the Flick was an inventor. And so that's when we had, like, these are the Flick's flyers. And it was really fun to sort of take them and totally transform them into something that Flick would have invented and made.
I think with these kind of lands too, the scale change is so much fun. It's essentially the thing that happens with Toy Story, where you get shrunk down and the scale. Something that we can deliver is that ability to take you and you can see things as you're never going to see them in your normal human scale life. So that's a lot of fun for us.
Well, it goes back to, I think, what Walt Disney did. It goes back to what Walt Disney did in the original Disneyland, which we love so much, and it'll never go out of date, and that is where it takes you to a different place in time, and it's so immersive, and every detail is so great, and I think that's what was so fun to think about, taking and making yourself small like an insect, and how you can make things really big. Also being primarily for kids' rides, we want to have places for parents to sit down in the shade on hot days and sit and relax a little bit, make it sort of a bit peaceful as well. And that's why the plants are all these gorgeous plants, and I think it's gotten even more beautiful over time.
It's grown in, and it's a beautiful, beautiful land at night. Those lanterns that we did, and the little lights with the bugs light up with their butts. So there it is. It's just gorgeous at night.
And it's and that's one of the things is that in designing it is really thinking ahead to it over time. And I think that's a neat thing is when you see those vintage pictures of Adventureland and the Jungle Cruise when it first was put in. It's like now, of course, it really is a jungle, and the plants are so old and so gigantic. It's hard to imagine that all that stuff was planted at one time. And that's what we wanted to have with A Bug's Land, and to have that really. And I think it's just going to keep getting more beautiful over the years.
Eric, maybe you can talk about the first Toy Story attraction.
Yeah, well, that was Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin in Florida. That is an interesting pedigree. It actually started out believe it or not, started as an idea written on a piece of paper about entertainment ideas for the Tomorrowland stage, which is next door to the attraction. And we were looking at this paper and it really had nothing to do with entertainment at the time. It said, that's interesting, they have a Buzz Lightyear stage show. And we at Imagineering are trying to figure out what to do with the old Delta Dream Flight attraction, which was, seen way better days at that time. Because it has this great ride system, this Omnimover, like the Haunted Mansion. And we were trying to figure out what could the show be. And said, I never really thought about subdividing Toy Story into different categories and not having all the characters together. And it's not a really easy fit to take all the Toy Story characters and put them in one land in a Magic Kingdom type park. So what about a Buzz Lightyear ride? And then we started working this idea of what would become Space Ranger Spin. And of course the reality is now it's a franchise that's in all of our parks around the world. So that's really great. But the other interesting trivia piece is that it's only called Space Ranger Spin in Florida. Everywhere else it's Astro Blasters. And that is because I started watching this morning. When we were designing the ride, we thought the coolest thing about the ride would be the idea that you could spin the vehicles like a teacup, and so you'd be able to spin throughout the ride. Well, it turns out and to become a Space Ranger and to help Buzz. So that's the two words they picked. And then, but it turned out what they loved was shooting the guns and using the wheel to just sort of aim the guns better. So that's why it's now called Astro Blaster everywhere. But I like to think that the original one keeps its original name, and that now you all know the story.
And it really ushered in the interactivity in our rides too, which sort of continued with, I think, Midway Mania.
Right, it just takes that to the next level.
I think this is a revolutionary ride in the history of Imagineering and parks because of that real interactivity, is that moving shooting gallery notion. And I think the competitive nature, I know me and my sons always trying to beat each other, and then you always try to figure out where and you pray for, the ride to slow down. You guys know what I'm talking about. And you hope that your kids are further ahead. You get the triangles right there. That's right, yeah. And so it's really, it's really. Secrets.